Okay, so today I am privileged to have Master Sergeant Emily Dunphy here with me, and we want to talk about VA disability.
Yes.
Okay, so what I understand is that you work for the VA.
Yes.
Correct. All right. And how long have you been at the VA?
About 5 years now.
5 years.
Yeah.
Okay. So what can you tell us about, applying for VA benefits?
I think that like a much more difficult task than it really is. Back in the day, you had to go online, find a lot of paperwork and fill that out, and the VA has done a lot now where you can do everything online, which is ebenefits.gov, and you can go in there. You're just filling out your basic information, when you got out of the service, and then what conditions you want to apply for. You send that off, and then we'll schedule your exams for you.
Okay. So a lot of people use attorneys to get their disability benefits through. Is that a good thing?
Really got a lot. So you can go online and you'll find lots of attorneys all over the place. And some of them will be charging you money up front. Some of them will be, oh, well, I'm going to get 50% of whatever you get granted, and it all depends. Honestly, if it's your first time filing, you don't need an attorney or anyone else to represent you. It's a very simple process, like I had stated before. You just go fill out this form, what you want to claim, like, oh, my knee hurts, so put down right knee condition, left knee condition. I wouldn't recommend, personally from what I see, getting an attorney or a VSO unless you're having problems. Because really you're just adding in someone else into the mix to make things a longer, drawn out process. And if there's an attorney that is charging you up front, I'd be very hesitant and look into your due diligence, because the VA already has a list of pre-approved attorneys where we have an agreement that they won't receive more than 20% of your back pay that we end up granting.
So is there a website where they could find out who that list of attorneys are? Who those lists of attorneys?
So we don't have like a master one. We have an internal list. I don't think that's published anywhere. But when you go and you talk to the attorneys, they'll tell you, and you'll see the form, hey, here's the VA attorney fee agreement, and you have to sign it. So it's not hidden. You can ask up front, hey, are you already affiliated with on this code?
Okay. So does that, getting an attorney, is that going to basically guarantee that you get your
no
VA benefits?
No, right, and right. So everybody thinks, okay, if you lawyer up, like you should be able to, and that's not necessarily the case. I think when you're talking to an attorney, if they haven't heard what your situation is, and they're like, oh, we'll take you on, I would be skeptical. There's a couple that are really good, and I'm going to go ahead and throw out one of the names. Like,
No, we won't do it.
No, we don't. No, oh, okay, all right, we won't do that.
Okay.
All right. If they take the time to sit down and hear what your case is, that's who I would want to work with. And they'll tell you up front, like, yes or no, whether they can help you. Because really the attorneys are, if you are running into an issue where the VA, where you know that it's service connected, but for some reason the VA isn't listening to you and just keeps denying you, that's when you need someone to come in and be your advocate. But if you're just applying in general up front, you can do this. Being in the Army or the military for so long, you can fill out this form. It's pretty straightforward.
Okay, so don't get an attorney unless you're denied a couple of times.
Unless you're running into issues, yes.
Okay, and so what would those issues be for the audience? What would that issues be for them to say, oh, maybe I need to get an attorney?
Okay, so a really good example would be, I'm gonna go with women because that's what my experience is. If you came back from deployment, let's say that you were having heavy periods, which migrated into now you have fertility issues. When we go to the doctor, you're not getting that diagnosis right up front. You're getting all of your little complaints and symptoms that eventually lead to this diagnosis. Well, sometimes when that happens, the people that are screening, they're just looking for, okay, well, when did they get this final diagnosis, and not looking at the trail work that comes before it. The attorney will help you lay out your whole arguments on, hey, no, look, all of these symptoms manifested into this final diagnosis. So maybe the diagnosis didn't come in the right time period, but it manifested long before. So that would be a good situation and when you need the attorney.
Okay. So and for the viewers, why does it take so long to get your VA benefits?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Yes. Okay. On top of there already being everybody is filing for these claims, and we have a backlog on Agent Orange claims that are coming in, and Congress is changing what we're approving and what we aren't. We're taking the time to understand what you're asking for. So if you write on there left knee condition, okay, well now your whole medical record is in front of somebody and we see left knee condition. Well, what exactly do you mean? So we're going through your whole medical file saying, okay, is there any complaint of something that happened with this service member's knees? And then tagging it and saying, okay, yep, I see he was airborne qualified. That makes sense. That's why he's got these knee conditions. Now you have to take the next step of ordering the exam. Well, you're not going to get the exam set up in the next couple of days. We have several different contractors. We have different hospitals that we're working with. And now in this new COVID environment, now there's limitations on how many hospital or how many patients can go into said provider to get done. So that's creating an unintentional backlog as well. So, okay, let's say that you get your appointment, now it's 30 days out. You show up for your appointment, you fill it out, that contractor has a window of when they can finish their paperwork too, because they're also seeing 20 people a day. So we're already at 45 days since you've submitted your complaint or submitted your paperwork. So the provider submits all of their documentation. Hey, here's what it is. Now you're going to this person called a rater, and they're going to look at that medical documentation and what the doctor said. And the doctor has a statement at the bottom saying, was this service connected, yes or no? So if it's yes, the rater's like, okay, great. Here's my scale. Where do you fall in on my scale? And that's your rating. Depending on how many contentions someone puts in there, you can have, if it's just one contention, they probably knock it out in like 15, 20 minutes. If you are one of those people that threw the whole kitchen sink and said, okay, I'm going to claim everything, that person's spending probably 2 hours, 3 hours on your claim to get that all right. Once that's done, there's another person after that that reviews everything. Okay, did the rater follow all the laws? Did the doctor follow all the laws? Was everything that the veteran asked for addressed? And if yes, then it comes to me where I do a final review and we hit the pay button and you get your pay a couple days later. So that whole process is 60 to 90 day windows. And that's assuming we don't need any additional evidence from you. If we need additional evidence from you, we're not going to rate anything until we know that we have it all.
Okay. So the audience, so you're basically saying you need to be patient. It needs to be a 60 to 90 day process,
Yes.
right? And let that process
Play out.
play out before you get antsy and say, all bad man of evil.
Right, that we're a horrible organization.
Right. Okay. So let's say we have this rater. You mentioned a rater.
Yes.
So let's understand, because I think our vets, they want to know, how is it determined that I get 10%, 20%, 30%, 40%
Sure.
of disability?
Okay. So we follow the Code of Federal Regulations, which is open to the public, and you can Google CFR and then schedule of rating, and that'll pop up. I think it's like CFR 4.1, and that will break down every body type and then what the requirement is, with a nice little block next to it saying 0%, 10%, 30%, etc. for it. So it's not up to us to determine it. It's laid out in law, crystal clear, and we just have to see, okay, which symptoms do you have? Where does that fall on this list? Perfect. There's your rating.
Okay. What if I come in and say, hey, you gave me a rating of 20%, right? Mm-hmm. And I say, hey, I don't like that 20%. I think
Yes.
it should be more. What do I do from there?
So you can file again, do either a claim for increase, or you can do a supplemental claim. It depends on what that rating decision is. So when you get your final notification from us, we'll say, okay, if you don't like this, here's the steps that you have to take to change it. So like your example was, okay, we gave you 20% and you think that you're entitled to more. So you file a form and you write down why you think you're entitled to more. What do you think we didn't take into consideration? And this could become a situation where maybe you do need an attorney to help you. because it's not crystal clear. Something crystal clear would be like hearing loss. That's not debatable. You go, you get a printout from a machine, the numbers are crystal clear. Where it would be fuzzy is something like having back pain or nerve pain where it's you experiencing it and there's not a machine punching out numbers saying, okay, nope, this is what the science says that you are.
Right.
That would be
kind of subjective, right?
Yes, more subjective.
More
Thank you.
subjective, right? So now you're looking at a something that you can quantitatively explain. Hey, I lost my ear, my hearing.
Yes.
My ear. Okay. But hopefully, some people lost it.
Sure.
But you lost your hearing.
Yeah.
That's cut and dry.
Yeah.
No debate.
Right.
But we talk about, like you said, you talk about some pain here, there. It's subjective. There's got to be a little bit more research. So that's going to carry your claim out. And so do you recommend a lawyer, or will you recommend a lawyer, or what should happen next?
I think at that point, do your case first, right? Because if you file an appeal process and you get a lawyer, that can take anywhere from a year to 2 years to get that settled because you've entered into this whole new entity. Whereas if you fight it on your own, or you get a VSO and just write like a simple statement on a form like, hey, well, here's what I'm actually experiencing. I don't think that the examiner was listening to me. That's more likely to get quickly resolved than being like, you know what, let's break out everything and just, full steam ahead. One of the other things, actually one of the mistakes that veterans make a lot is that when they go into these VA claims and they ask them, hey, how's your pain? They tell them how their pain is today instead of like, we'll just keep with the back claim, right? So today you got out of bed and you're feeling great.
Right.
So, okay, my pain's like 2 or 3, it's bothering me. Okay, but what about last week when you couldn't get out of bed? What about the week before where your wife or your husband had to drive you to the ER because you needed pain? That's what you need to be telling the examiner when you go in. What is it like on your worst day of that condition? And that's what you get rated as.
Okay. So veterans, I'll stop you here for
Sure.
just a second. So veterans, understand, look at the holistic view of your condition. Okay.
Yes.
Do not just look at today. Okay.
Yes.
So, because like I said, we're here to help you and like to thank you for. Now we're not closing down yet, but like to thank you for giving us some tidbits, because these are some things that are very confusing to vets.
Absolutely.
And before we call you all mouths of evil, okay,
Right.
we want to make sure hey, we're getting out the right information coming from the source. And like I said, again, we appreciate you talking with us today.
Yeah.
And you're one of us, so let's keep that in mind
Right,
too. You're a
yep.
veteran as well. So and maybe that's why she's talking to us. All right, so let's talk about just kind of give me just kind of an overview of where you see disability claims right now. Like what are there a lot? Do you see is the government not helping out those claims or not fulfilling those claims? What are you seeing without necessarily? I don't want you to lose your job, but
Sure,
what are you seeing?
No, actually, in the years that I've been in, it's actually been more than 5. I was thinking about it. I came in like 2015, so it's been 7. It's flying by. There has been a huge push to clean up the backlog of claims. So there's been a lot of mandatory overtime. There's been a lot of new hiring of personnel and training to get all these claims pushed. And I feel like we're in, at this moment, like a really good stride. But now Congress just passed the PACT Act, which adds a whole bunch of new contentions for burn pits, as well as a few more contentions for Agent Orange.
Okay.
So with that, there's a lot of conditions that historically we denied because we didn't have science to back up that these were related.
Right.
I mean, we all knew when we went that, okay, the burn pits were clearly unhealthy, but some of these things that feel obvious to us as veterans, like coming home with asthma that we didn't have before,
Right.
or rhinitis, sinusitis, are now contentions that the VA has to say, okay, here's your DD-214, it shows that you were in the country, you have a current diagnosis, we're just going to concede that it is caused by the military and grant it. So we've got what has it been, like 20 years now of claims that we've been denying that we now have to go back and grant. So there's an even bigger push right now to hire more people to get everything claimed so we don't run into the same issue that we did with the Vietnam veterans and Agent Orange, where we're trying to clean up a mess 50 years later. We're trying to get ahead of it. So I feel really confident in the organization and the steps that we're taking to take care of the vets.
Okay, thank you. And I think it gets confused sometimes, and we want to make sure that you guys understand that, taking the time to do this, there's certain things, we're still in, okay, so we're having to, we got to be careful how we say certain things and how we play certain things, because we want to be able to help you, okay, we want to be able to help us. And so let's go into a little bit about not necessarily the paperwork, but just we talk about the process, but what should I expect in the process? I mean, how should I expect to be, or where should I go to start the process? How about that?
Okay, so we have a great website called ebenefits.gov, and you can go in there. You can use your CAT card to log in, or I think everybody should have a DS login at this point, whether you're retired or still in. If you don't, you can easily create one on the website. You go in there, we've got wonderful drop-down menus that are easy to understand, and there's a button that says compensation, and you can click on that, and it'll say, do you want to file a new claim? You click on that, and it generates the form for you that you can just go in and fill in all of the various blocks that it asks. You can do that. Some people find that a little daunting, because then you're also clicking, okay, well, the next page of the electronic form and the next page. You can also go and download any file, any form from the VA online, and you can just Google 526EZ, download the PDF, print it out. I prefer hand jamming it, because there's a lot of blocks that don't apply to me because I wasn't on active duty for all of these times, or I'm not a Vietnam veteran. So you just do first name, last name, social, address, put in your contentions, and then you can upload it, you can fax it, you can mail it. We have all different options for you to do it. Really, at that point, once you submit that piece of paper, you're done. Now you're just waiting for the VA to schedule your exam, and you just have to show up. And I can't tell you how many times I see claims get denied because the veteran didn't show up.
So guys, you gotta show up. If you take the time to file a claim, you gotta make sure you take the time to show up for your appointment.
Right.
Okay. So, because we complain, we're human. We're gonna complain.
Of course.
But we gotta follow through. We're all military. No matter what branch, you gotta follow through, right? Follow through on this. All right. So, if we talked about how long the process. I mean, generally, kind of give us an average. What's the average? You said 30 to 69 days. Kind of a gloss, but
Yeah.
I think people would think that's way longer than that, and I want to try to get an average.
It really depends on how many contentions. Did you throw the kitchen sink at us, or are you filing a handful of stuff? If it's a handful of stuff and you go to your appointment, you should have money in your bank probably within 90 days. And that's just because of how long the administration process takes to get from step A to B to C. If you're throwing everything out there, it's just such a long time. You could be one of those veterans where it'll take a whole year to get everything rated, but during that year, once we get enough evidence, we'll send you a partial rating. So maybe you start out with 10%, a couple months later, we'll give you 30, and it'll go up until the claim is completed. What we won't do is wait a whole year before you hear anything from us and then give you your rating. We'll constantly be sending you these obnoxious letters, basically saying, hey, we didn't forget about you, we're still rating it. Or you need to open up those letters, because I know we send you a lot of letters. One of those letters might say, hey, you claimed this, but we need more evidence from you. So now the ball's in your court. However long you take, you have up to a year to send that evidence. If we don't get it, well, okay, now in the system, we have to take a long time to be like, well, he claimed this. Did we check all of the boxes legally? We did. They didn't reply. Now you're going to get that denial. When you get that denial, you've just created more of a headache for yourself, because now there's a new form that you have to file called a 0995. And that's saying, hey, I know you denied it. You as the veteran are obligated to submit new evidence that wasn't already in your, right? So if you don't submit new evidence with that form, we're just going to turn around and immediately deny it within 30 days. So you've boxed yourself in.
Wow. So you got to remember that, guys. Follow up.
Yes.
Back to follow up. Don't throw that mail away. I know it's easy to do. Now, how does the VA hospital or centers, I myself go to the VA.
Sure.
Do veterans have to go to the VA?
No, they don't.
What do you recommend that they should? So how about that? I'll just kind of lead you there.
For the disability claims process?
Well, not necessarily, just in general. Should all veterans be a part of, or be part of and get in the VA system?
So I would say yes. And the reason why is it's easier to track all of these conditions that are developing because of our time in the service. If you're not going to the VA and letting them know, hey, I've developed asthma or now I have migraines, and you're going to your private doctor, which is totally fine. If you're going to the private doctor isn't reporting these issues to the VA, so there's no way to track it. And that's one of the great things that's happening with the burn pit program versus Agent Orange. So Agent Orange took us, 50 years to finally figure out what was going on. Whereas everybody in this recent generation, the past 20 years, we've been using the VA more. We've been accepted more. The laws have opened up. So now they have immediate access to this database of, look, all of these people came back from Iraq and Afghanistan and Egypt, and they have all of these issues. Well, now Congress can take action on that, as opposed to, all right, well, we need to get this information somehow. Maybe they'll self-report it, and it took so long to get that. So, yes, to answer your question,
Right.
I think you should.
Okay, so if you're not a part of the VA hospital system or the VA system, get in and make yourself a part of the VA system as soon as possible, because that's going to help. I know, like she said, you have your private doctor and you go to your private doctor, but sign up for a VA, get your appointment for the VA, and let them examine you, because that's basically crosses over, and it actually makes the process easier.
Yes, yeah. If it's not helping you right now, it's going to be helping you later on down the road, and everybody else that's deployed behind you.
Okay. Now, can you take your information from your private doctor and turn it over to the VA as well?
Absolutely.
Some of the information that you.
Yes. Yeah, you can.
You have previous.
Sure. Yep.
To joining the VA.
So the VA hospital system actually has a really great network option now that wasn't available back in the day, where you can give your private provider authorization to your medical records, and they can see everything that's happening to you on the VA and vice versa. But you have to sign the paperwork in order for the two systems to communicate. So if you go to a little country place, no, they're probably not going to have access. But if you have, Cleveland Clinic is huge in Ohio, and in Florida, their systems are integrated. You can also just bring the paperwork with you to the VA, go sit down with your VA doctor and say, hey, here's everything that I've been treated for with my private doctor. Can you get this inputted in the system? Can I start treatment with you? Or just, hey, I wanted you to know. So it's noted somewhere. That will help you down the road.
Okay. So the bottom line is you got to get this information over to the VA. You got to get everything charted.
Yes.
And recorded, basically the same thing, but you got to make sure everything is recorded, so when you do have an examination, you do have a record established.
Right.
So you want to establish your records as soon as possible, right? Okay. So we're gonna wrap it up here. Like I said, again, I appreciate you taking the time, and look, I got access to you, so as far as just having a conversation on VA and for our vets, because this is for veterans and don't get the insider's viewpoint from these types of disability claims, etc.
Absolutely.
So guys, this is Veterans Speak. I'll say signing off, and thank you very much.